But before that, right? I do want to take a little bit of time, right, just to discuss something or like review something, right? So everybody knows like Bayonetta, I finished Bayo 3 and I gave it like a solid like 8 point, no, not an 8.5 to like, wow, it's raining, 9 out of 10. I could hear it outside. And I feel like everybody has like a sounding resonance with me in that review score where it's like 8 or 9s out of 10s for like Bayonetta. But then like I came across one person's like review for Bayonetta. I wonder if I can like find it. There it is, right? This is a video that like stumbled upon my like YouTube on like my recommended page, and like the title says Bayonetta 3, a colossal disappointment. And I like thought to myself like why is like Bayonetta like a colossal disappointment? I like watched it. I like thought of like some points. Well, I've watched it, right? But I immediately like deleted it out of my mind, right? Because there was a lot of points that were like in this video that like I intentionally forgot what the hell he said because it's like wrong, right? Like I don't want to be rude, but it's wrong. Where is he like getting up all these like points? But this is like so like weird because like Bayonetta is like one of those like beloved like series, right? And Bayonetta 3 is not really like a bad game. Sure, it had like toward the end like some like less finer like points, but I'm like Bayonetta didn't really disappoint me.
I've got something to say, and I really wish I didn't. I've been looking forward to Bayonetta 3 for a really long time. I played the first one years ago.
So essentially I'm just like reviewing like another person's review of Bayonetta, right? And more specifically, why he thinks like Bayonetta 3 is like a colossal disappointment, and I want to like counter argument like why he thinks like what are to listen to his points, and I'll give like some feedback.
Absolutely loved it. It somehow managed to out Devil May Cry, which is nearly impossible. Never got around to buying a Wii U 2 because
out Devil May Cry. Okay, so well, Bayonetta comes from Devil May Cry devs. All of them are like Platinum games. But I mean, okay, that's like the first point.
Nothing is worth buying a Wii U. But I just finally picked up a Switch and bought it for entirely too much money. Nintendo, you assholes. Even at $50, it was well worth the price of admission. I made a mistake putting it off for so long. Bayonetta 2 is goddamn spectacular. I fucking loved it start to finish. It's a trip. Incredibly well designed and built what made the first game great in all the right ways. I'll probably make some content out of it.
Or actually,
because it just deserves it.
Let me move this to live reactions.
That roller coaster. Imagine how excited I was to get into 3, and imagine how disappointed I was to see what they did. I genuinely feel like I'm being gaslighted. Everyone and their mother seems to love this game. They're all wrong. It's not Bayonetta. I just played Bayonetta last week. This isn't it. It's a competent title. So fine as a breakout IP with a fresh coat of paint on it, but to call it Bayonetta is just, well, it's revolting. Before we even...
So how is it like, well, to not even consider like Bayonetta, which is like the same like IP, right? It like it carries like the same like name brand like title, so this is not, so Bayonetta 3 is not like Bayonetta, it plays like something else. All right, let's see what does he have to say.
Start the game, something goes wrong. They put in a baby mode for children that censors the nudity and tones down the gore. It even throws up a pop-up that asks you to turn it on. Voice playing hard. Oh my god. Why is this, dude? Okay, well, I can understand burying it in the options somewhere for if you're like 10 or some shit. I don't know. But prompting you to put this on when you start the game is a bit much. This is fucking Bayonetta. It's hypersexualized, hyper-stylized slaughter. If this is a problem for you, why are you even playing the game? It
So who has like a problem with the naive like angel mode? I thought it was fucking hilarious. Right? Like Nintendo did that because they own the fucking IP, right? They had to like limit they had to like put that option down so that, you know, if Nintendo Switch's market is for like little kids, little boys and girls, right? That's like what quote unquote Nintendo like strives for. They're there for like the very casual, very like safe, friendly like families out there, right? And that's what like the demographic like is for when Nintendo puts in like that naive like angel mode. Nothing will be like that risque. Albeit I agree, right? Bayonetta is a very like over sexualized character, but I wouldn't say don't make it like the biggest fucking problem in Bayonetta 3. It's a small, minute, fucking little detail, right? You have the option. Why are you so butthurt about like the fucking option? And of course, you know, Nintendo is like can be like a polar opposite, right? Because you know they like tone down like Bayonetta with the naive like angel battle shit, but look at Xenoblade 2 and tell me where I'm coming from. They're literally fucking like, you know, hypocritical company, right? Where they throw out like scantily clad like blade waifus. Like Nintendo ain't that slick. Alright, they want players to like, you know, they want players to, you know, make up some shit or like something like that. But to make it an entire point on like the naive like battle mode is a little bit trivial and stupid. Right, like this sounds like some fucking like Bayonetta like purist shit.
Minds its own core identity before it even gets off the ground. That was the first red flag. And it...
Yeah, so that's the well, that is a red flag in and of itself. Why are you being a purist about a video game like fictional series? I love Bayonetta. I love the game series, but I'm not gonna be like a total like fanboy about like some like video game. The only things I'm like, you know, a very super hardcore like autistic, even though I am really autistic, fan about is like fighting games, to an extent like action games, because I love like the genre, and Power Rangers, right? Look at all the Power Rangers shit that I have. But I can easily say that like, you know, Power Rangers like has its faults. And of course Bayonetta has its faults. Look at the rocky relationship that they had. Like what?
It just goes downhill from there. Let's jump right into talking about the most important thing, the combat. First sin, feet weapons are gone. You can't put weapons on your feet! That's what Bayonetta is, dude! That was Bayonetta's thing.
So, Bayonetta's thing, like, is about, like, not just, like, hand weapons, but feet weapons? That's another, like, nitty-gritty thing just to, like, just to like, you know, fucking... I forgot what the right word is. Like, okay, let me reformulate. Yeah, it's just a very, like, OCD type of, like, detail, right? Like, okay, yeah. Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2 did have, like, feat features for, like, all of, like, the weapons, right? That's a lot of, like, the crazy, like, nutty shit in the game. So, first, like, OCD, like, counter-argument to this is, like, what about the Bayonetta roller skates on your, can you put those in your hand? No. That looks silly. And Bayonetta is all about, like, silly shit. But I say, like, the weapons in Bayonetta 3 are very much, like, you can forget about, like, the feet weapons because they're so big and so weird. You have a hammer that's a gun. You have fans. You have a fucking mic stand. You have all of this, like, crazy fucking shit. This crazy, like, bombastic, like, looking weapons. You have a hat and a cape, for God's sake. And your biggest problem is, and another big problem this guy is having is, like, complaining about, like, the feet weapons. Now I'm like, reminded of, like, fucking, Jury and Street Fighter, right? Jeez! And, like, everybody's all about, like, you know, they're smelling or sniffing, like, Jury's feet. That's a lot of memories. And you know what I say? Keep those grippers away! I don't see why you have to make, like, such a big deal for, like, the feet, dude. Come on now.
You find a new weapon and you can put it on your fucking feet. Swords, feet. Rocket launchers, feet. Fucking chainsaws, feet. No other game did this. None. It was completely unique. Taking it away was absolutely criminal. Massive disappointment. In its place are...
It's a massive... Alright, okay. Alright.
Masquerade moves, you transform into a half demon and do an attack, some of which are really cool, but they in no way justify axing one of the franchise's defining features. The pace is much slower than Bayonetta 2. Baldur and Acer both had some of the fastest attacks I've ever seen in a game, like approaching human reaction time quick. And even some of the normal enemies, like the centaur with Ivy's sword, were so goddamn fast. Keeping up was a struggle. It was engaging, it was fun, and when you finally got a flow going, you felt like a fucking badass. It was so thrilling. Not anymore. Normal enemies are largely sluggish. Most of the bosses are massive and very slow.
The game is much slower than Bayonetta 2.
So this is like, I'll call it the first sin. What you're actually showing is like one of like the trials in the game, right? Like, why are you showing off a trial for the game? But this person actually put up like a trial, and like it's only like witch damage time only. It's like, okay, so based on what you're like actually showing off in this like video example,
bosses are massive and very slow.
Massive and very slow. Then just get used to the timing. I don't understand. Like, does frame timing actually work? Does like combo structure actually work from like different fighting games? No, they don't. No, they don't. Like, what the fuck? There's gonna be like tone downs. There's gonna be like some balance updates, right? You're not gonna feel like a badass because they want to make it more like challenging for you, right? This is like some stupid like fighting game fundamentals that like some ignoramuses are gonna like miss out on, right? Oh, I missed the framing because, you know, it's supposed to be like -5 or like -7. It's supposed to be -5. Why is it like -8? Right? Or some shit like that. You know, action games don't universally follow like the same, don't follow the same rules as their previous like versions, right? Like there will be some like balance adjustments, there will be some like changes, not just to weapons, but actual like player combat. Devil May Cry is like in the same boat. Metal Gear Rising, one of them, right? We could think of like so many other like different action games, right? But like they'll have different like things about them. So if Bayonetta 2 is like a lot more faster compared to like this date, then they probably fucking changed it to like to like make the pace of the game like the way they want it, right? You know, like I didn't have a problem with like which time, right? It got me a little bit of like time getting used to, right? Because it felt like so weird. But then of course I had to get adjusted. Action games are like technically like fighting games. You have to get adjusted to like the rhythm of it, right? Like you're that like far off, like. And first of all, it's a trial, and first and foremost, it's a trial. This is a trial. This is a trial where you have to like the game has to have you learn how to do witch times at their pace. If you can't pick up their pace, then why are you complaining?
It's small and quick, which is where the game has always been at its best. There's a partial dodge now, which gives you like a second of witch time. This only serves to bait you into starting an attack and getting hit when it suddenly expires. I'd much rather not get it at all. The gameplay loop is also predictable as hell this time. You know exactly what to expect from this game from very early on. The first two games kept surprising you and never really stopped. Like, okay, I guess we're doing this now.
Oh, it's Paradiso. Okay. We in heaven.
Okay, so his biggest point is like, you know, Bayonetta 3 is like predictable. Okay, alright, let's see.
Game. This is 2 steps from hell. I think it is. What the fuck?
In Bayonetta 3, you go through a destroyed city, watch some random cringe version of Jean or Bayonetta die. You fight a boss, you rip out your heart, you supercharge a summon, you do a gimmick phase, you get a MacGuffin, and you move on. You do this 4 times in a row, and that's the entire game. It's fucking boring. It's...
So, literally, this is what I said in my own review, right? Where it's like, Bayonetta, not just 3, but 1 and 2 have like a 3-act fucking structure. Bayonetta 1, literally, you start off in like Vigrid, you start off in phase 1, then phase 2, and then phase 3, you fight Fortitudo, and then the next phase happens. Like, you mean to tell me Bayonetta 3 is more predictable than like Bayo 1 and 2? Bayo 1, definitely for sure, but Bayo 2, definitely like a point of contention. 1 and 2, and then fight a boss fight. Yeah! It's literally the same... I don't know, man. I don't know what he's trying to like spit out.
Literally Mario. The heart thing would have actually been really cool at the end. It's a good idea and it's badass.
Oh? What are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? Did you just tear out your own heart? What the fuck? When did you learn how to do this?
But she just does it over and over again, and there doesn't even seem to be a cost to it. She just puts it right back and it works fine. So it's like, why aren't you doing this all the time? It's clearly effective. Why not? Speaking of
Cause it's an action game, dingus. It's part of that 3-act structure. Granted, I'm just like, I'm trying not to be rude, but there's like, again, there's like so much wrong already, like within the first like 5 goddamn minutes. It hurts my brain, it hurts my soul. You're worried about, you're not worried, you're literally disappointed that like Bayonetta does like the same thing over and over and over again. Yes, of course, but like the payout is actually different within each thing. In the first act, you get like a kaiju. In the second act, you get some like random like bubble body bullshit, which is hilarious. Third game, you get to duo up with your third Bayonetta, with your Egyptian Bayonetta, and fight like some Hydra looking motherfucker. And in the fourth one, you fight like in fucking sing-along, right? So it's literally, yes, the same thing, but the payout is so different. Every new thing is like a wild fucking twist in and of itself, right?
summons, they're the biggest change and the main attraction of gameplay. They're broken. They're just too good. You basically have infinite mana and it recharges entirely too fast. That's right, it recharges. You don't need to fight for it this time. So, you're incentivized to sit back and play Pokemon like a bitch instead of Bayonetta.
So... oh, I guess you back orbs. Oh. Wow, the gun.
Oh, here it comes! Okay, maybe I sold Gamora short.
Many of them are also big and slow.
So the next big issue was like his summons. The summons of the game are just like too massively like OP. This has been like hinted at in Bayo 1, in Bayo 2, and now it's like in full fleshlight form in Bayonetta 3. That like battles are going to be much more bigger, right? It's been teased in Bayonetta 2, and now you can like summon your actual weapons in like combat instead of like fucking like appendages in Bayonetta 2. And yes, of course, some demons are a lot more slower than the other, right? But given certain circumstances, right, in boss battles, or like if you want something that's a little bit like quicker, right, like the Luca boss fights, summons are not that OP. Luca can definitely like one-hit kill summons, and if you're not like that careful, you're out of summons. Now essentially you have to play the game in like hard mode, right? Like one of the most like best highlights in Bayonetta 3, in my honest opinion, because it's a new gameplay mechanic. I love like new shit. I love like the crazy variety. Don't keep it like the same as like the old two, but make it like new and refreshing, right? So you get to summon like Gamora instead of just fighting Gamora in Bayo 1 and 2, in Bayo 2, or even like save it as like a fucking like cinematic QTE in Bayonetta 1, right? Like, what? You get to fight alongside with your demons. How is that not awesome? How's that not awesome? And you have different like play styles with them. And of course, if you want to make it harder, you could turn off demons and you could do like quick like demon summoning finishers. Okay.
Okay, maybe I sold Gamora short.
This would be amazing if you couldn't spam it literally every single fight. That's on you! Right? The game is not demanding you to summon the bosses. Summon the demons, right? It is your volition of how you want to enter each and every fight, Right? Like, I didn't know how, like, summons work, so I just went with, like, OG, like, Bayo 1 form, and then I discovered, like, Bayonetta summons, and, like, you could do, like, sick shit with them. But I'm not gonna rely on them for Bayonetta combat. I just don't. I don't know why. Maybe because, like, I like the game. I like the actual, like, combat. I like the combat of Bayonetta with or without demons. I want to, like, go in there. I'm a fighting game player, and I'm not gonna like take any no ifs, ands, or buts.
Many of them are also big and slow. Some control badly. A few are just plain weird. I almost stopped using them entirely because they were just making the game too easy. 2's climaxes were actually satisfying.
So I gotta question this guy, right? Like, which in his playthrough, which difficulty did he play in? If like it becomes like too easy, like what, coordination or like something like that, or like difficulty? Because I'm pretty sure that like in like higher difficulties that like the enemies get like scaled up in like life and like they take up more hits, right? Something like that, but
as hell, and a much better way to incorporate demons into combat. You finish a combo, you huck a bird at them or cut them with the horse. This shit, while initially cool, loses its luster fast once you realize how abusable it is. Viola. Oh my god, Viola. I hate her. I hate everything about her. She plays completely differently and her inputs aren't even the same as Bayonetta's by default. Switching between the two.
So yeah, that's like a totally like new fucking character. You know what they're doing? You know what they're doing, homies? It's a fucking Bayonetta. It's a fucking DMC5. You have Nero, you have Nero, you have Dante, you have V in that game. 3 different like playable characters. Right? This is literally the same shit as like this is literally the same shit as like DMC5. You have classic Bayonetta, you have John to an extent. And then you have Viola, the new Chicken Town, right? So of course she's gonna play a little bit weird. She doesn't gonna have like witch time. You have parries. You have just defense, right? You have like you have a weird interesting summon. You have like sword combat, you have round trip, and you have hand-to-hand combat. A fresh fucking new idea from Platinum Games to spice up the game. I don't understand like why. Again, this sounds like some fucking like Bayonetta like purist shit. It's not the game of Bayonetta 1 or Bayonetta 2. I'd like to think the way they are, not this new shit. Bruh. What?
2 is a chore. Her block seems to have a different timing entirely. She's clunky, she has crazy long recovery frames, she's cringe as fuck. The game itself never takes her seriously, despite her serious backstory.
Oh, what? Oh, shit!
Yeah.
Hot! No! This is the only outfit I brought! Gotta find water, fast!
And
Viola is supposed to be cringe! Viola is the goofy fucking character, and in lore-wise, she is the daughter of Luca, another cringe fucking character! How is this, like, a problem? I thought Viola was fucking great, right? She is the comedy character of Bayonetta, and Bayonetta is an action game. There's a lot of lighthearted shit. What is this serious serious backstory? I wanna fucking curl over and like die in disappointment, man. Like, excuse me. Viola is not cringe. That is the whole point of Viola. That is the whole point of her father, Luca. They're these like cool looking characters that are meant to be silly as fuck. So when she did the Looney Tunes shit, oh, I laughed my ass off. This is funny. Right? Like, this is fucking actually hilarious. Right? I'm not gonna be like, cringe. Oh my god. Fucking. Like, how is this This is like, I've counted many sins. I think I've like counted like 6 sins in this like video. This is like the sin number 1. It's an action game. You think all of like the action movies, for instance, all those like cringy as fuck one-liners from Aliens, from Predator, from fucking Metal Gear Rising. How about full of shit? Is that a meme? like, I think he's missing the entire point of like fucking action games, right? This is some like, oh my god.
To top it all off, she's obviously a communist.
This is like the most stupidest fucking thing.
Bruh.
Okay, like, okay, it's there to like be a joke, and like, what point is there like being a fucking communist? What like thing does, at what like instance does Viola give off like communist vibes? I'm getting upset. I don't even want to watch anymore, but I have to like stomach through what else this guy said. Like I said, I intentionally forgot this video because I watched it on my recommended list and like I shut it off of my mind. And yet I come back here again because I thought this, because, you know, I want to make like good content, right? I want to review this like total disappointment, quote unquote, disappointment of a review. This is the most asinine, I'm gonna call it right now, this is the most asinine bullshit fucking review I have ever seen. A lot of misinformation understood. Like, what? You clearly have no idea what you're talking about.
I despised every single second of her gameplay.
I despise every single second of your goddamn mouths, my guy! Come on!
Her design is a fantastic example of simply overdoing it. You can pull off a punk rocker type and have it be cool, like a Nero with tits or something. Instead, she lands squarely in an uncanny valley of cringe. Whoever decided to force us to play as her should be fired.
Whoever decided to give this person some lip, some opinion, some room of mouth should not be allowed to have a voice.
Bruh.
You make us wait 8 years for more Bayonetta, and you give us this bitch instead. Fuck you! The music also disappointed me. What does Bayonetta sound like? Main themes, go.
Oh, this is music. Alright, I'm gonna listen to this. Alright, that's Bayo 1, right? And there's now it's Bayo 2. Yeah, and? Yeah, they're both fine. And? Oh. Give off Tomorrow's Mine?
What do we hear? Angelic choir, obnoxious piano, synths clapping like crazy, super high energy, blazing tempo. It's so fucking happy. It just oozes, I'm gonna style all over you, love every second of it, and there's nothing you can do about it. Just pure exuberance, memorable stuff. Not for 3.
Yeah, and? Literally same shit. This is hype enough. I don't understand. Okay, let me listen to this, guys. Let me listen to this bitch voice. Drastic departure. No synths or piano. Strings of all things. Lower. So, another grave sin, and I love like video game music, right? Especially like ones come from like action games and like fighting games. A lot of fighting game music, like depending on like which theme, they carry a lot of like oomph, some like motivation. Bayonetta 3 is not like very elegant, is not high energy enough in terms of like music, is not like, of course, it's like at a different tone from Bayo 2, right? Like, how you're complaining about like that. You're complaining about that. Where literally Bayonetta 3 has some of the most like hype-tastic like music you could ever find in this iteration, right? I love Moonlit Serenade. I love Whispers of Destiny. I love Ghost. The Viola's like battle theme. Because, you know, I'm pretty sure he didn't put like Viola's battle theme because, you know, it's cringe. She's a communist. Like, Viola's battle theme, if you really listen to it, sounds so goddamn like epic, sounds so like high energy that you didn't like put that on the list. And most importantly, Bayonetta is an elegant action game, video game character. She is an elegant, stylish version of Dante, right? And she, like, you know, not to be like, you know, what was it, like feminist or like gender specific, like she is a woman, right? So you gotta have like appropriate themes, like make it like elegant, right? All of the 3 main vocal themes of Bayonetta involved like jazz songs from like Frank Sinatra and like Bren Miller or some shit. I think that's what did like Moonlit Serenade, right? But Moonlit Serenade Bayonetta 3, you don't hear the violins, you don't hear that like up tempo, you don't hear any of these like audio fucking indicators that like some shit is about to like go down. Go down in like in a cool way, not in a bad way, but in a cool way, right? Like, and Whispers of Destiny has like the most uppest of tempo things, right? In Bayonetta 3 music when you play as the character. Like, this is so goddamn. You know what? I'm gonna be no filter. This is so goddamn retarded. I have to actually say the R word because of a wrong fucking opinion. I'm like, how is the music like that bad to him when it's literally like the most hypest of fuck energy, right? He calls it like low energy. Fucking him. This is so hype! How does he not get the hype? Yeah, this is so cool and elegant! That was the entirety point of Bayonetta's music. To have an elegant fucking witch beat your ass down in style. Right? Elegance is also hype! Oh, to be clear, I'm not saying the music is bad. Right? Okay, at least he's like redeeming himself, but you are literally saying it's lacking the franchise's identity. Bitch, that's the identity! That's the fucking core of the music! Their jazz themes elevated to a higher degree! Like, what?
Much slower tempo, and where's the goddamn piano? And the boss themes? Some of them are alright, but nothing is anywhere near the level of You May Call Me Father, Greatest Jubilee, Lumen Sage, even Beyond Time.
I get it, like the boss themes are really cool, right? The boss themes are, you know, kind of cool. I never like listened to them that much, but like they are pretty cool when they want them to be.
I don't really remember much of anything, which would have been unthinkable going into it. I'm really not a fan of the creepy choir they keep using, regardless of how well it fits. Voice acting. Jen Hale does the best she can, and I'm not knocking her at all, but it's a very clear downgrade. Helena Taylor's performance was simply iconic. It's like trying to voice Darth Vader, right? No matter who you are, or how well you perform, you simply can't match James Earl Jones. It's such a shame that she seems to have lost her goddamn mind. The game really suffers.
It seems to be that you lost your goddamn mind. Jennifer Hale does like an adequate like job, right? Jennifer Hale does like a close similarity to like Helena Taylor, right? And you know what? I rather prefer Jennifer Hale more than like Helena Taylor, right? I rather prefer, after all of like that Bayonetta like schlock with all of like the voice acting and like the underpay and all that shit, albeit very good things to have in the industry, to like very adequate pays for voice actors, right? But Helena Taylor did it the wrong way, did it in the wrong manner. She omittedly lied in a public studio that is Twitter, and was like asking for more pay and like yelling about like her pedigree, like career and like all that jazz, right? And the evidence has rebooked her. Platinum was willing to offer her $15,000, right? And she didn't get that much from voicing the character in Bayo 1 and 2. She got the same rate. So I'd rather take like someone who like, you know, doesn't want to like start shit than one who does.
For it, and I miss her terribly. Bayonetta's personality is halved. It's just poof. Her behavior also feels much more generic. All she really does is push her glasses up with her gun over and over again. And they turned her into a sappy romantic, and even worse, a furry. She's supposed...
Where is the furry coming from? Where the fuck did the furry come from? You mean all like the demon transformations when she like does shit? Bro, if you could have reviewed Bayo 2 with like all the demon transformations and shit like that, it would literally be like the same thing. Would you call like Bayo 2 like Bayo like a furry den, my guy? Come on now. Come on now. Like, that's like another grave sin. Like grave sin like number 7. Like, Bayonetta's a furry? Bitch, she has like hair all over her. You can like consider her a furry. This has been like a thing since like Bayo 1. But are you referring to like all like the weapon transformations back then? Like, God.
To tease the hell out of you and then call you a bitch and walk away. Not get all choked up and go in for a kiss. One-liners? Flat. Catty attitude? Muted. She barely even curses. It's just, what could have been? Performance. The Switch seriously struggles with this game.
Yeah, so just to go back into that, right? One-liners, they're definitely like one-liners into the game, right? I don't know where he like misheard that from, but they are definitely one-liners in Bayonetta 3. I will agree, like one little like light of salvation that kind of like redeems him. It is like the ending scene, right? Where like Bayonetta is like, you know, in love with like Luca, right? Because, you know, it is a J.K. Rowling, a Hideo Kojima, a fucking Johnny goddamn Sasaki with Meryl Cyril's bar, right? Where was this like relationship like hinted at in like Bayonetta's lore? Now granted, like, you know, I don't like talk shit about like lore and all that stuff, right? This is why I really don't like, you know, lore in like video games, is because, you know, you can make yourself a complete ass about yourself. Story really doesn't matter in like a goddamn like video game. Yes, it can be interesting, right? I looked at all like the files for Bayonetta 3. I had fun just like reading them all and like giving it to like the homies in the chat, right? That's super fucking fine. But I'm not gonna make lore my number one point of contention or the number one reason for buying or, you know, playing a video game. Playing a video game, what you're meant to do. It's a luxury item and you're meant to like have fun. Right? Now it's like video games are like cinematic like fucking masterpieces. Like, come on, bitch. Video games are not fucking David Cagers. Right? They're not like to tell like a poignant like fucking story. Right? They're there to let you like have fun and like go nuts. Right? And that's why like I don't like games like fucking like ones that are very like story driven. A few examples would be like fucking Kingdom Hearts, right? Or like something with a sequel, or something like not like a fighting game, or maybe could be like a fighting game with like a sequel like number in it. I don't care about like the fucking story. I don't care about like the characters. The characters are cool, right? I play Guilty Gear. Guilty Gear has one of the most convoluted fucking stories. Do I give a shit about the story? Hell no! Right? Even like friends like recommended me like, Farn, you should watch like the Wooly Versus encyclopedia of like Guilty Gear lore. You should get like a total thrill out of it. I'm like, sure, I'll watch it, but like, am I gonna say like, you know, stories like important in the video game? Absolutely not. Absolutely not, because I know like I play Guilty Gear for the characters and the gameplay. That's it. Right? Character visuals, I'll give a like to whoever cool they may be. Backstory, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck of like where they come from or whose butt they snipped. Right? Like, I don't give a damn. I just want to have fun. Just want to have fun and do cool shit. And Bayonetta's like one of them. Right? Albeit, again, I love Bayonetta. But am I gonna make Bayonetta like lore, reasoning, and rationale like my number one like pick? Absolutely not. I love the fucking game. I love the combat. I love doing like cool shit, especially like in Bayonetta 3.
I was experiencing single-digit frame rates at some points while my console attempted to achieve lift.
Like, imagine this, but on good hardware, by the way. The poor Switch can barely handle this. The Switch is like a Fisher-Price toy.
Yeah, I mean, of course, right? Of course. The number one biggest like disappointment, not in sympathy with like this guy, what he's trying to say is that Bayonetta 3 is like running on like a Nintendo Switch, like a 5-year-old gaming hardware that is not seeing like any signs of like a Switch Pro or a Switch 2. So you have like, I wouldn't say single digits, my guy. Like it's still running smoothly as like the eye can like see. You just have an untrained eye, my guy. But yeah, the biggest like flaw for like Bayonetta and like in terms of like, you know, combat is like the frame rate. And frame rate is like super important in video games. Right? Frame rate is like one of the most crucial things in like making like a fighting game is that you don't want to be like slowed down by like number of like inputs, right? When you input a button, that move automatically like comes out in like that move like automatically like comes out. Right? Like to have it be like dirty would be like half of that, or like you're being like slowed down, right? A lot of fighting games nowadays have like 60 frames per second because it's not just like how it looks, but how it feels, right? And Bayonetta, right, can't escape Nintendo because like Nintendo owns Bayonetta, right? It's not owned by Platinum. If it was like made by Platinum, Bayonetta would have like a smooth 60 frames per second, smooth FPS. They would have like actually like good cutscenes instead of like being loan sharked by Nintendo, right? And that's the biggest like, and that's another point of salvation I'll give to like this guy is that like, yes, of course, everybody will say that the Switch's hardware is ass, right? Especially for like a high octane action game like Bayonetta 3. But what the hell can we do, right? What the hell can we like do as like fans? We could give our voice and like support Platinum Games to like demand Bayonetta 2 and 3 to be like on PC. But there's an alternative to that. There's Yuzu emulation. There's the Switch emulator called Yuzu, and you could actually set those settings to make like Bayonetta 3 run at like at a smoother and not like perfect smooth, but like as smooth as it can be frame rate. Come on now.
I'm surprised it can even way. Can those hold your weight? I'm sorry, game. That's too far.
One of the greatest tragedies of modern gaming was Nintendo buying out this IP and putting these games on Fisher-Price hardware. That was always such a strange acquisition. Not exactly on brand for them, is it? I get that Bayonetta 2 wouldn't have even happened otherwise, but could it at least have been Microsoft or Sony instead? We might have actually got
Microsoft or Sony instead, right? Do you know like the history behind like Platinum Games, right? Platinum Games is composed of ex-Capcom developers. 2 of them are being which Hideki Kamiya and Shinji Mikami. You know what they... And when Resident Evil 4 was like coming out, director Shinji Mikami and Hideki Kamiya were like at Capcom in the PS2 games, making Devil May Cry 1, the OG first one, and Resident Evil 4. Both left because, you know, they were demanded to make those games run on PS2 PlayStation hardware where it was still new at the time and they couldn't do it, so they bowed out. They're out. They still made games, but they had bad feelings for Capcom back in the day. Right? And plus, look at the history between Platinum and Microsoft, right? They would have had like an open world MMORPG action game called Scalebound, right? And lo and behold, nothing happened. It was actually kaput. Microsoft like dropped it down for unknown like reasons. And all of like the Activision shit. Oh boy, all the Activision shit, let me tell you. Legend of Korra, good game. Transformers, Devastation, good game. TMNT, meh. It's just that Platinum has a history of not working well with Western developers, such as Microsoft and Activision. And they don't want to ruin their chances again. And with Sony, look at their fucking history. Look at their history. PS3 Bayonetta runs like shit. Metal Gear Rising, kind of like okay, but it could be better. Right? But that's like going back to like Xbox. But like I said, Platinum went with like Xbox, went with like Microsoft and Activision. Look where that got them. Unfinished game and three rushed games just to like make units.
Spellbound that way. The story is complete trash. It makes no sense whatsoever. It really jumped the shark with this multiverse bullshit. Inferno and Paradiso do not factor into it at all, despite being threatened. We never go to either, never fight a single angel or demon in the entire story. It's just different
So, what about all those like secret angel like portals you find throughout the game? All those like hidden battles like challenges, right? Again, he just sounds like coming from story basis. Right? Angels and demons are there, and demons are there in the story. You literally fight demons in the Egyptian setting in Bayonetta 3, and you had to fight like fucking what? Ravenous demons in that coffin looking motherfucker? Right? As part of like the story. The story! And you fight like demons to get like extra shit, get extra weapons, right? I had to fight like demons just to get like that whip weapon for Bayonetta. So they're not there in terms of they're not there in terms of story, but they are there in terms of like combat and gameplay because of fucking nostalgia. But that's the biggest like takeaway from the story.
varieties of green goop dudes. Cutscenes are entirely too long, Jean is still fucking useless, things just happen with no explanation. The villain is totally uninteresting, we don't even have a motive for him besides more power. He's just doing—
He did not give off Virgil vibes. Where does he say like more power? His whole purpose, the fucking like Mid-Myers like Sigurd was just to like unify like the universe. He sounds like an anime villain. Where does he get like Virgil? At what point does he like scream Virgil? Luca screams Virgil because of the boss battles that you fight him in. Jean screams more fucking Virgil than anything. Story, you know, of course, right? Another like horn of salvation, right? The story is like okay, but you know, again, I'm not gonna say like story is like the number one thing, right? I'm not gonna say story is like number one thing because, you know, in action games are just silly, hokey storylines, and they make use of that to an extreme, right? In a good way, right? If you don't like action game, right? If you don't like this game's like story, then you probably didn't watch like action movies or have played like a lot of action games in your like video game history. That's all. That's what I'm gonna say.
Doing this for shits and giggles as far as we know. Baldur had a goal, Lopter had a goal, both had style and were memorable. This guy is just Mark Zuckerberg plugged into the metaverse. All the destruction is just magically undone at the end, like they've got the goddamn Infinity Gauntlet. There's no better way to summarize it than this. In Bayonetta 1, you summon the devil to punch God's soul through the entire solar system and into the sun. In Bayonetta 2, Infiniton! Limit exceeded! Step on him, mommy!
And he said, "Step on him, mommy." It's a fucking drop kick. I don't know what weird fetishes you got, my guy.
Of course, we knocked the soul out. Yep. What have you been doing, John? Oh, we got Gamora back! Yeah, woo! Yes! Nope! You will not escape this fate! You're gonna get bored, buddy! Here it comes!
You're gonna get bored?
Here comes the airplane! Oh
Yeah,
God.
I mean, that's a good scene, right?
We just bored God, by the way.
In Bayonetta 3,
No, you could just move, you know. You don't have to block it.
When you fight for what you believe, you can change anything.
Gay. Lame messaging, DRX moment. God fucking damn it.
That's it. Fuck this game. And then it's
So you're forgetting all of like the times where like Bayonetta summoned all of her multiple dimension cells to fight God, got her ass beat, then fight God again in a monster kaiju form, and then had the callback of Bayo 1 and 2 coming out, and you do like a badass moment. You teamed up with Luca, right? There's so many other moments in that fucking ending, right, that made it so goddamn spectacular, right? Like, and this is the footage that like you show off. Fuck this dude. Fuck this dude.
at the very end, it commits the ultimate sin.
Yeah.
What?
I hate it.
Shit, my bad. Forgot to use the family name.
Forgot to use the family name.
Back by curfew.
Don't you dare.
Bayonetta.
Shutting it off. Shutting it off. Shutting it off. Shutting it off. Nope, we're done. We're fucking done. We're fucking done. Fuck you, Platinum Games. You fucking ruined it.
Anyway, this utter garbage gets no more than a 5 out of 10 from me for stepping all over the franchise and grinding it into paste. It's a competent title, but it in no way lives up to its predecessors.
So like, I thought that was good. I thought that the ending between the love between Bayonetta and Luca was like asinine. But you mean to tell me that like passing down the torch, albeit very typical, was not that cool for you? What? Like, it made a point that like Bayonetta is not like just a Bayonetta, right? Which is kind of cool, right? I dig that. But I'm not gonna say like, God.
Instead, it turns its back and outright disrespects them. Bayonetta is dead to me. This is the video game version of The Rise of Skywalker. It literally does the I am all the Bayonettas thing, and then a cringy bitch who doesn't deserve it steals the main character's name. There's exactly one way out of this, and that's to retcon it entirely. This was apparently some alternate universe version of Bayonetta, not our girl from 1 and 2. So just forget about her, forget about the Kami, treat it like DMC, get the original writers back, pick up with the real Bayonetta, and just forget this ever happened. What is wrong with Platinum Games, man? Something is not right over there. Reading around, it seems like there have been some pretty significant staffing changes. I guess they're the Japanese BioWare now. Another one bites the dust. Do not buy this game. Replay 1 or 2 on Infinite Climax instead. You'll have more fun, and you'll avoid depression. That's about it. Sorry this is so scuffed.
Sorry, I had to like listen to you again. I had to listen to this bitch-ass motherfucker again. Bruh. I don't want to be like rude on people, right? Like, I never like to be like upfront, like no filter. I can't be at the levels of like my dad, right? Where he could just like upfront tell like waitresses at like a Indo-Chinese like restaurant at Jackson Heights the food was awful, right? I'm kind of like very courteous, like my mom before me, right? But like, this video is the absolute definition of like ignoramus cringe. This is cringe itself. I'm getting a fucking headache from like what this motherfucker is just like spitting out. And this is bad spit, not good spit. This is bad spit. He complained about Viola. He complained about like the combat being like slow. Complained about like the music, right? Like he says that like retcon this universe, right? This is why I hate lore. This is why like I hate like loyalists to like a fucking like game series, right? Like, you know, being a fan is fine. Being like, you know, you like the series, that's good. But I'm not gonna pour like my mind, my heart, my sweat, my goddamn dick into this like series. Right, like, I'm not gonna turn into like a fucking fanboy of this series. That's what he sounds like. He's a fucking like Bayonetta like purist. Right? And that's like That's like the ultimate sin on top of all of like the sins that he just like said, right? Like it's not the same as like the previous 2 games, right? Like I don't like lore in general. I don't like story in general, right? Especially like in a video game. If I like a story, I like it, right? And I memorize it, and I memorize it pretty good because I have like a good memory. But I'm not gonna preach to the gods. I'm not gonna preach to everybody that like Bayonetta's story is like the best story. Absolutely not. There are other more poignant fucking stories like books or movies or all that shit, right? Like, this is just so bad. I want to see like what does he do, right? So he plays God of War, right? He plays that. This is the best opening of all time. Of course, I mean like that's Sony fucking money. That's Sony telling you to like, okay, we're buckling the fuck up with this like action adventure puzzle shit. Well, what else does he play? Oh, Final Fantasy XIV, Endwalker. What the fuck is this shit? Endwalker. What is it? P8S? P8S guide. I don't know what the hell that is. Final Fantasy XIV. He plays Metal Wolf Chaos. That's an interesting title. He plays League of Legends, right? That's another sin, right? That shouldn't be allowed to be voiced. Right? He's like, oh my god. I'm done with this guy. I'm done. You may have like good content, you may get like good support, but like, you know, not for me, my guy. Nope.